What if the only thing standing between you and everything you've ever wanted isn't money, isn't luck, and isn't timing, but a single thought called doubt? Neville Goddard said, "Imagination creates reality, but doubt steals it before it's born." So let me ask you, who would you be if you never doubted again? Most people think doubt is harmless, a little voice of caution, a way to stay realistic. But what if I told you that doubt is the very reason your life keeps repeating the same patterns? Neville Goddard taught that faith isn't hoping, it isn't waiting, it's assumption. It's living in the end as if the desire were already done. Here's the paradox. The more you wait for proof, the more proof you get of waiting. That's why so many feel stuck, no matter how hard they try. Because doubt quietly sabotages the state of fulfillment. But imagine this. Who would you be if that doubt simply vanished? What kind of choices would you make? What kind of life would you live if certainty replaced hesitation? In this video, we'll explore the silent weight of doubt, how it disguises itself, and most importantly, how to dissolve it for good using Neville's most powerful teachings. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear could be the missing link between wanting change and finally living it. What if I told you that the biggest enemy of your manifestation isn't money, nor your circumstances, but a silent whisper inside your mind? A whisper called doubt. It seems harmless, but it's exactly what keeps your life stuck in the same place. Today, you'll discover how to defeat this silent enemy and finally step into the life that's already yours. Doubt doesn't arrive like a storm tearing through the roof. It seeps in like a draft you barely notice. It whispers late at night when you replay the day in your head. What if it doesn't happen for me? That single thought is enough to weaken the structure of faith. It's quiet, but it lingers. Over time, it becomes heavier than you think. People often imagine that doubt is obvious, dramatic, even loud, but in reality it shows up in the smallest pauses, the subtle hesitations before taking a step. It's like standing on the edge of a pool, convinced the water is too cold to dive in, so you stay shivering outside. Doubt convinces you that waiting is safer, yet in waiting, nothing changes. It's important to recognize that this invisible weight shapes the way life unfolds. You might say you believe in the law of assumption, or that imagination creates reality, but underneath, if you keep asking yourself, "But what if?" the seed of manifestation weakens. That seed doesn't need force, it needs certainty. Certainty, however, cannot live where doubt is fed. Think about how children believe in their games. When they play house, no child ever doubts being the mother, father, or even the superhero. They assume it fully. Adults, however, lose this innocence and begin to question every possibility. The silent weight of doubt is what separates a playful child's imagination from an adult's cautious realism. Imagine someone planting a garden. They put the seed in the soil, water it once, and the next morning dig it up to check if it's growing. That's doubt at work. The act of digging interrupts the natural process. The seed doesn't need checking, it needs trust. And yet, many live exactly like this in their desires, planting, doubting, digging, and never seeing the bloom. Doubt often shows itself through body language before words. A slouched posture, an unfinished sentence, a half-hearted, "I'll try." These little signs tell the truth. The heart wants abundance, but the inner state says, "I don't really believe it's mine." Neville Goddard often reminded, "Your outer life is only a copy of your inner state. If doubt rules inside, lack repeats outside." Here's the paradox. Most people don't even notice they're carrying this weight. They think they're being cautious, practical, or responsible. But being responsible is often just a polite word for entertaining doubt. They think it's smart to prepare for failure, but in reality, preparing for failure is secretly assuming it, and assumption is always creating. Have you ever delayed a decision because you wanted a sign first? That's doubt disguising itself as patience. Instead of choosing to live in the end, people wait for confirmation that they won't be disappointed. But here's the trick. Life gives confirmation after assumption, not before. Waiting first is like standing at a fireplace, asking it to give warmth before putting in the wood. The most painful part of doubt is how normal it feels. It's in the phrases we heard growing up. Don't get your hopes up. Be realistic. Nothing comes easy. These phrases stay like background music in the mind. Without noticing, they guide choices, shape assumptions, and keep reality repeating in the same old loop. The silent weight of doubt isn't heavy because of its size. It's heavy because of its persistence. It's like carrying a small pebble in your shoe. It doesn't stop you, but it makes every step uncomfortable. Eventually, you forget what walking freely feels like. The question is, what happens when the pebble is removed? That's where Neville's teaching on faith comes alive. Faith, in Neville Goddard's vision, is far from the passive belief most people imagine. It's not about hoping something will happen someday. It's about stepping into the reality where it's already done. To live in the end is to carry yourself as if the desire were already fulfilled without waiting for proof. And here's the challenge. Doubt interrupts that state like static breaking the signal of a clear radio. When someone says, "I believe, but I'm still waiting to see," they don't realize they're mixing faith with doubt. Neville used to stress that assumption and doubt cannot occupy the same space. One says, "It is done," the other says, "But maybe not." The law of assumption faith isn't about forcing results. It's about resting in the certainty that imagination creates reality. Think of an actor rehearsing a role. While he's in character, he doesn't keep reminding himself, "I'm just pretending." He becomes the role fully, and because of that, the audience believes him. Living in assumption is the same. You take on the identity, the feeling, the state, and life reflects it back to you. Doubt breaks the performance, pulling you out of the role. That's why Neville insisted that feeling is the secret. You can affirm, visualize, or repeat words endlessly, but if the feeling contradicts the words, the state doesn't hold. To assume without feeling is like writing a check without funds. It looks valid on the surface, but doesn't cash out in reality. Faith without feeling isn't faith at all. It's wishful thinking. Here lies the subtle power. When you live in the end, reality bends to you, not the other way around. Faith as assumption flips the rules we've been taught since childhood. We were told to see it before believing it, but Neville reversed the formula, believe it and then you'll see it. Doubt, however, keeps you stuck waiting for signs before moving, and signs never come to the doubting heart. Consider someone waiting for a relationship to appear before feeling loved. They postpone love for later, thinking, "Once I have it, I'll feel it." Neville would say, "Feel it first." Live without doubt by embodying love in your imagination. That inner state attracts the outer reflection. Doubt says, "I'll believe it when I see it." Faith says, "I see it because I believe it." And it's not just about love. It applies to money, health, opportunities. Assumption versus doubt is the real battle, not conditions versus desires. If you assume abundance but secretly fear lack, life mirrors the fear. But if you assume with unwavering faith, circumstances eventually have no choice but to conform. Doubt is the only thief here, nothing else. When people ask, "How long does it take to manifest?" Neville would smile. The question itself exposes doubt. Time isn't the issue, state is. Living in the end instantly shifts the inner reality, and outer reality follows in its due season. Faith is timeless. Doubt always measures time. Which one are you feeding? There's a lightness that comes with true assumption. You stop obsessing, stop checking, stop wondering. It's like ordering at a restaurant. Once you've placed your order, you don't chase the waiter around to confirm he got it. You relax, knowing it's coming. That's the calm of assumption. Doubt, on the other hand, is like standing up every 5 minutes asking, "Is it ready yet?" So Neville's teaching boils down to this. Faith isn't passive belief, it's active assumption. It's the courage to live in the state now, even if nothing outside agrees yet. And when doubt tries to creep back, remember, it can only live where faith is absent. The more you practice living in the end, the less room there is for doubt to speak. And that's where things get interesting next. Doubt rarely introduces itself by name. It doesn't walk in and say, "Oh, hello, I'm here to ruin your manifestation." Instead, it wears masks that sound reasonable, logical, even protective. It whispers phrases like, "I'm just being realistic," or "I don't want to get disappointed." On the surface, these seem wise. Underneath, they are the quiet voices of disbelief. Logic is one of doubt's favorite costumes. People say, "The facts don't add up, so I'll wait." But imagination creates reality, not external numbers. If someone waits for the bank account to look different before feeling abundant, they're unknowingly affirming lack. Logic insists on visible evidence first, but faith begins where logic ends. Assumption demands courage to go beyond what the eyes see. Another disguise is the obsession with proof. Have you noticed how some keep asking for signs? They'll say, "If I see a feather, I'll know it's working." While signs can appear, chasing them only proves that doubt is running the show. It's like demanding a receipt before you've even placed the order. Faith rests in assurance. Doubt hunts for guarantees. Patience can also be doubt in disguise. True patience feels calm, trusting, effortless. But the false patience of doubt is restless. It waits, but with tension, checking every minute to see if the desire has arrived. It's the difference between baking bread and sitting by the oven door, staring at it, wondering if it will ever rise. One trusts the process, the other mistrusts every second. Even spirituality can be used as doubt's costume. Someone might say, maybe God doesn't want this for me. But Neville Goddard emphasized that the divine will is already expressed through your desire. To want is to have been chosen. Doubt reframes desire as denial, making you question the very gift planted in your heart. Faith reclaims it, saying, if I feel it, it is mine. Practicality often sounds noble, but it can be doubt in disguise too. How many times have people said, I'll wait until the timing is right, yet timing isn't found. It's created by assumption. The right time is always now. Every delay justified by practicality is really hesitation disguised as wisdom. Doubt loves to hide behind calendars. Endless research is another trap. People say they're just learning, but they're secretly stalling. They consume book after book, video after video, without ever assuming the state. It's the equivalent of reading about swimming while never stepping into the water. Learning feels safe. Living requires risk. Doubt prefers the safety of knowledge over the vulnerability of action. Comparison is yet another mask. It worked for them, but maybe not for me. This subtle thought keeps you outside your own power. Doubt convinces you that others are special, chosen, or lucky, while you are the exception. But in the law of assumption, there are no exceptions, only states. To believe you're excluded is itself an assumption, and life mirrors it faithfully. Perfectionism often looks like strength, but it is doubt at the core. The need to get everything right before stepping forward is just fear dressed up as preparation. It's the same whisper that says, what if I fail? The antidote isn't to perfect the plan, but to embody the state now. Doubt craves control. Faith thrives on surrender. So doubt is never the obvious villain. It's the quiet friend who gives you good advice that keeps you safe but stuck. It's the cautious voice that says, not yet. But if you look closer, you'll see that every mask hides the same message. I don't believe it's done. And the moment you unmask it, you're ready to see why doubt always recreates the old. Every time doubt shows up, it drags you back to the familiar. It doesn't create something new, it only repeats what's already been lived. That's why people feel stuck, as if life is playing the same song on repeat. The moment doubt whispers, but what if it doesn't work? You unconsciously return to the state you've always known. Lack, waiting, frustration. Neville Goddard used to say that reality is only a shadow of your inner state. Doubt ensures that shadow never changes. It keeps the projector loaded with the same old film reel, no matter how badly you want a new story. You may pray, affirm, or visualize, but if doubt runs in the background, the reel doesn't switch. The movie stays the same. Imagine someone trying to drive forward while constantly looking in the rearview mirror. That's exactly what doubt does. It ties your eyes to the past. You can press the gas as much as you want, but the direction is always backward. And until you release that grip, your life can't move into a new state. It's easy to see this pattern with money. A person wants financial freedom, but doubt makes them recheck their bank account every hour. By doing so, they're reaffirming the same state of lack. Instead of living in the end, they live in not yet. And life, faithful to its law, simply mirrors back not yet. Assumption versus doubt is the deciding factor. The same happens in relationships. Someone longs for love, but keeps doubting if anyone could truly choose them. That inner doubt recreates loneliness, even when opportunities for connection appear. The outer world has no choice but to echo the inner hesitation. As long as doubt is alive, reality cannot write a new script. Here's the subtle trap. Doubt feels safer because it's familiar. The old state, even if painful, feels known, and the mind clings to it. Stepping into faith feels like stepping into unknown territory. And yet, only in that leap can transformation happen. The law of assumption faith isn't about safety, it's about daring to step into the unseen. It's much like tuning a radio. If you keep returning to the old frequency, you'll always hear the same station. Doubt is that constant hand turning the dial back to the old channel, no matter how often you try tuning forward. Only when you decide to stay fixed on the new station, despite static, does the new music finally come through. The strangest part is how doubt convinces people that they're being smart. I'm just checking reality, they say. But reality only reflects the check. They don't realize they're feeding the very loop they want to break. Reality isn't the source, it's the mirror. Keep looking at the mirror expecting it to change first and you'll be waiting forever. Neville's lesson was clear. Imagination creates reality, and imagination only obeys the state you persist in. Doubt means persisting in the old. Faith means persisting in the new, no matter how things look. That's why doubt feels so heavy. It chains you to yesterday. The moment it's released, the chain breaks and the future opens. So the reason doubt keeps recreating the old is simple. It has no creative power of its own. It only recycles. Faith, however, builds new, which means the real question isn't whether manifestation works. It's whether you'll let go of doubt long enough to ask, who would I be without it? And that's where the next shift begins. Take a moment and imagine this. What if doubt simply disappeared from your life? Not reduced, not managed, but gone. Who would you be if every decision you made came from pure faith, from the quiet knowing that imagination creates reality? Close your eyes and picture it. Your posture, your choices, your voice. It's a version of you that already exists, waiting to be assumed. Without doubt, hesitation loses its grip. You wouldn't spend hours debating whether to act or not. You would act because the end result is already yours. Living without doubt feels like walking across a bridge you know won't collapse. There's no testing, no half steps, only movement with certainty. That's how Neville Goddard described true assumption, a rest in what already is. Think of the things you postpone today, the conversations you avoid, the opportunities you second guess, the risks you talk yourself out of. Without doubt, those delays dissolve. You'd pick up the phone, start the project, step into the room, not as someone hoping it works, but as someone embodying the one for whom it has already worked. When you live without doubt, even your language changes. Words like maybe, I'll try as hopefully vanish. They're replaced by calm statements of fact. This is mine. It is done. I am. You stop negotiating with reality and begin commanding it. Not with arrogance, but with the authority of someone who finally remembers who they are. The version of you without doubt doesn't chase signs. They don't need to. Life itself becomes the sign, rearranging naturally to reflect their inner state. Synchronicities, opportunities, people, they all show up, not because they were hunted, but because they were magnetized by assumption. The doubtless self is a magnet for confirmation. And here's the beauty. Without doubt, your energy feels lighter. No more second guessing, no more rehearsing scenarios of failure. That wasted energy flows back into creativity, joy, presence. You live in the end, yes, but you also live in the now, free from the constant tug of war in the mind. Doubt binds, faith frees. What kind of choices would you make financially without doubt? Would you invest in yourself, trusting that abundance flows back? What about love? Would you open your heart fully instead of holding it hostage to fear? Without doubt, life looks completely different, because decisions aren't made from lack, but from wholeness. Neville often challenged his students with this simple idea: dare to assume. The dare part matters. It's not always easy to imagine a life without doubt because doubt feels so familiar. But daring to live as if it's gone, even for a moment, shows you what's possible. And once you taste it, it's hard to go back. Living without doubt doesn't mean you never hear its whisper again. It means you stop obeying it. You recognize the voice, but choose differently. You choose assumption, the law of faith, the knowing that feeling is the secret. That choice builds the muscle of certainty until doubt fades into irrelevance. So who would you be without doubt? Stronger, freer, lighter, more daring. Someone who doesn't just wish for change, but lives it now. And the more you embody this version of yourself, the more natural it becomes. Which leads to the real key, how feeling becomes the antidote that dissolves doubt at its root. Neville Goddard was clear. Feeling is the secret. Words alone don't move reality. States do, and states are carried by feeling. Doubt thrives in the absence of feeling because it keeps the mind in endless questions. But once you embody the sensation of the wish fulfilled, doubt loses oxygen. It can't survive where certainty is felt, even if circumstances look the same. Think of it this way. Doubt is like darkness and feeling is light. The moment you switch on the light, the darkness has no choice but to vanish. You don't fight the dark, you replace it. That's how assumption works. You don't argue with doubt. You step into the inner atmosphere of already having, and suddenly its whispers grow faint. Most people underestimate the power of feeling because they confuse it with emotion. It's not about forcing joy or excitement. It's about the quiet assurance that settles in your body. The sigh of relief, the relaxation in the shoulders, the deep knowing of, this is mine. That's the energy that plants new seeds. Doubt simply cannot coexist with it. Have you ever pretended something as a child so vividly that your body responded? Maybe you played doctor and your heart raced like you were saving a patient. Or you played explorer and actually felt fear of the jungle. That's the same mechanism Neville spoke of. Imagination plus feeling creates reality. Doubt didn't exist in those moments because the feeling was stronger. Feeling is the antidote because it bypasses logic. Logic will always argue, how will this happen? But feeling doesn't care about how. It simply lives in the reality of already done. And the body responds. It's like listening to sad music. You feel sad even without a reason. The state arrives because feeling leads, not facts. Imagine someone wanting wealth. If they keep staring at bills, doubt wins. But if they sit quietly, close their eyes, and allow the sensation of freedom, like walking into a store and buying without checking prices, suddenly they touch the end state. That feeling is the assumption, and the more they repeat it, the more natural it becomes. The body is a powerful ally here. Walk like the person who already has what you want. Breathe like them. Speak like them. Even sit in your chair with the ease of someone fulfilled. That physical embodiment invites the feeling to settle deeper. And when the feeling takes root, doubt is pushed out. One way to measure your progress is noticing how your inner dialogue changes. Where once there was, what if it fails, you begin to hear, of course it's mine. Not because you forced it, but because the feeling reshaped the inner climate. Doubt is a guest in a hostile environment. It can't stay where faith is embodied. The beauty is that you don't need to fight doubt directly. Trying to push it away only makes it louder. The secret is replacement. Every time doubt arises, invite the feeling of the end. Sit in it, breathe it, embody it. Over time, the scale tips. Faith outweighs doubt, and reality begins to echo the new balance. So feeling is not just a nice concept, it's the living antidote. The more you cultivate it, the less doubt has any ground to stand on. And once you master this, the next step becomes natural, replacing doubt with identity, stepping fully into the version of yourself who already has it all. Every time doubt appears, the instinct is to wrestle with it, to argue against the voice that says, what if it doesn't happen? But Neville Goddard taught something different. Don't fight the doubt, replace it. And the way you replace it is by stepping into identity. The question isn't, how do I stop doubting? The question is, who am I choosing to be right now? Identity carries far more power than thought. You can repeat affirmations endlessly, but if deep down you still identify as someone who lacks, the words remain empty. The law of assumption faith only works when you shift identity, from the one who wants to the one who already is. When doubt rises, the practice is simple. Pause, breathe, and step back into the already me. Think of an actor again. On stage, they don't question if they are the character. They embody it fully. Doubt disappears because the role is assumed. You can do the same with your desires. Instead of entertaining the thought, I hope one day I'll be free, you slip into the skin of the free person now. Even for a moment, the identity becomes real and doubt fades. Here's the practical technique. When doubt whispers, don't answer with logic. Answer with feeling identity. If you're doubting money, step into the self who never worries about bills. If it's love, step into the self who feels chosen, adored, safe. Imagine wearing this identity like a coat, slipping it on whenever the cold wind of doubt arrives. This shift can be physical too. Stand taller, breathe slower, smile slightly, as someone who knows something others don't. These subtle bodily cues signal the mind, I am already that. Identity isn't just an idea, it's lived in the body. When you embody it, doubt becomes irrelevant background noise. You may notice that doubt will try to return. It's persistent, but each time it does, you practice. Instead of feeding it with fear, you redirect into identity. Over time, this practice becomes automatic. You don't even notice doubt anymore because the identity of fulfillment becomes your default state. One powerful exercise is journaling from identity. Write a page each morning as if you are already living the fulfilled life. Not I hope or someday, but I'm so grateful now that this daily practice trains the subconscious to normalize the new self. And when the subconscious accepts it, Doubt has nowhere left to hide. It's like tuning into a new channel. Each time doubt pulls you back, you simply retune. The static may be annoying at first, but with persistence, the new frequency comes in clearly. And when you hold the frequency of identity long enough, life must conform. It's law. Replacing doubt with identity is not about pretending, it's about remembering. Remembering that imagination creates reality, and who you choose to be inside inevitably becomes what you live outside. Every moment you choose identity over doubt, you lay a new brick in the foundation of your new reality. And soon you begin to notice something incredible. The grip of doubt is loosening. You don't chase it away, it just doesn't fit anymore. Your inner dialogue shifts, synchronicities multiply, and calm replaces urgency. Which brings us to the next realization. The signs that doubt is truly losing its hold on you. One of the clearest signs that doubt is losing its grip is the quiet that begins to settle inside. The inner chatter softens. Where once there was constant questioning, what if it doesn't work? What if I fail? There's now more space, more calm. It's like a radio that once blasted static now playing soft, steady music. The absence of noise itself is a sign of progress. Another sign is the disappearance of urgency. Doubt always makes you feel rushed, desperate for proof, as if time is slipping away. But when faith grows stronger, you stop obsessing over the calendar. You move with a calm assurance, trusting that the seed has been planted. Like a farmer, you water it and walk away, knowing the harvest is inevitable. Synchronicities are another beautiful confirmation. Little things begin aligning, meeting someone at the right moment, stumbling on a book that speaks directly to your state, or seeing symbols of your desire appear naturally in daily life. These aren't coincidences, they're reflections of your shift. Doubt resists synchronicity. Faith attracts it. Pay attention to how your language changes. Instead of saying, "I hope it happens," you catch yourself saying, "It's on its way," or even better, "It's already mine." This shift in words isn't forced. It flows naturally because the state inside is changing. Doubt can't disguise itself when the vocabulary of faith starts slipping into everyday speech. Your body also testifies. When doubt rules, there's tension. Tight shoulders, shallow breathing, restless nights. As faith grows, the body loosens. You breathe deeper, sleep easier, even smile without reason. This physical ease is a subtle but powerful sign that the law of assumption faith is replacing the heavy weight of disbelief. Another sign is the way you react to appearances. Before, every negative circumstance would trigger panic, but now you stay calm. You remind yourself, this is just old residue playing out. That shift in perspective shows doubt is losing its authority. You no longer collapse into old states just because reality hasn't caught up yet. Even decisions become easier. Where once you hesitated, weighed pros and cons endlessly, now you move with more clarity. The inner state of already done guides your choices, and doubt no longer paralyzes you. Life feels lighter because every step carries the energy of assumption, not the weight of uncertainty. You also notice that you don't need external validation as much. Doubt constantly looks for approval, reassurance, or signs from others. But when you embody identity, you stop asking, "Do you think it'll work?" Instead, you smile inwardly because you know it already has. That quiet independence is proof of a deeper shift. Perhaps the most surprising sign is gratitude. Without even realizing it, you start thanking life for things that haven't appeared yet in physical form. Gratitude flows naturally, not because you're forcing positivity, but because you feel the end as real. And gratitude is always a signal that doubt is dissolving. So the signs aren't loud or dramatic, they're subtle but undeniable. Calmer thoughts, less urgency, natural gratitude, synchronicities, relaxed confidence. And as these signs appear more often, you realize something crucial. The journey isn't about never seeing doubt again. It's about persisting beyond appearances until doubt has no home left inside. Neville Goddard always emphasized that persistence is the real test of faith. It's easy to assume the state when things look aligned, but what about when everything screams the opposite? That's where doubt loves to sneak back in. Persisting beyond appearances means holding the inner reality steady, even when the outer world tries to contradict it. That's the bridge between desire and fulfillment. Think of an artist sculpting a statue. At first, all they see is a rough block of stone. If they judged the block by its early form, they'd quit. But they persist, chipping away until the beauty emerges. Manifestation is the same. The outer circumstances may look rough, unfinished, even wrong, But persistence says, I know what's inside this stone. Appearances are nothing more than old echoes. They show the residue of past states, not the seed you're planting now. Doubt misinterprets appearances as final proof. Faith sees them as temporary noise. That's why Neville called the world a mirror. It reflects who you were, not who you are becoming. Persistence allows the new state to take hold until the reflection finally changes. This is why people give up too soon. They assume because nothing has shifted yet, nothing ever will. But that's like planting a tree and declaring it dead after a week because no fruit has appeared. Persistence trusts the unseen process. Doubt wants instant evidence. The secret is, the more you can stay faithful without evidence, the faster evidence arrives. One way to persist is through self-talk. When reality contradicts you, instead of panicking, you calmly remind yourself, this too will pass. I already live in the end. It's not denial, it's direction. You're directing your inner state, refusing to let appearances dictate your truth. Over time, this steadiness dissolves the habit of collapsing into doubt. Persistence is also about daily repetition, returning to the state again and again, no matter how many times doubt appears. Like training a muscle, the more you lift, the stronger you get. Each return to the state weakens doubt's influence and strengthens assumption. Eventually, persistence makes faith feel natural and doubt feels foreign. Imagine someone wanting healing. The symptoms may linger, but they persist in feeling whole. Each time pain flares, doubt whispers, see, it's not working. But persistence answers, I already am whole. This refusal to surrender to appearances is what carries the state into embodiment. Without persistence, doubt always wins. With it, doubt withers. Another analogy, flying through clouds. Pilots don't turn back just because they can't see the sky. They keep flying, trusting that above the clouds the sun is shining. Persistence is the same. You don't stop just because visibility is low. You hold the course, knowing the clear sky exists beyond what your eyes can see. What persistence teaches is that appearances are powerless unless you empower them. They are shadows, not substance. The true substance is your inner state. Every time you persist, you reclaim authority over the mirror, and with enough persistence, the mirror must eventually reflect the new image you hold inside. So persisting beyond appearances is not about ignoring reality. It's about refusing to mistake it for the final truth. It's knowing that imagination creates reality, not appearances. And once you've mastered persistence, you arrive at the final stage, living fully as the doubtless self. Living as the doubtless self means finally stepping into the version of you that no longer negotiates with possibility. You're not asking, will it happen? You're resting in, it already is. This state carries a quiet power, a calm confidence that others can feel without you saying a word. It's not arrogance, but certainty, the natural fragrance of faith embodied. In this state, daily life looks different. You wake up with decisions already made because the end is lived, not awaited. You don't ask, should I act? You act because the version of you in the end has already acted. The doubtless self doesn't hesitate. They move with the flow of someone aligned with their desire. Even conversations shift. You no longer speak from longing, but from fulfillment. Instead of saying, one day I'll have this, you say, I am this, and those around you sense it. Some may call it confidence, others call it faith, but it's the same thing. Your assumption is so natural that doubt has no place left to anchor itself. Living without doubt also transforms how you handle setbacks. What once felt like failure now feels like delay or even redirection. The doubtless self doesn't collapse at obstacles. They reinterpret them as stepping stones. They don't see lack of evidence as proof of failure. They see it as life still rearranging. That's why they keep moving forward. Imagine walking into a room as the doubtless self. Your posture changes, your energy fills the space, and opportunities gravitate toward you. You attract differently because you carry no trace of hesitation. People respond not to your words, but to your state. It's magnetic and it starts within. This self also experiences more peace. Doubt always brought tension, questioning, and fear of missing out. Without it, you live lighter. You enjoy the present moment, not as a waiting room, but as part of the fulfillment itself. Living in the end becomes effortless because it's no longer something you practice, it's who you are. Another mark of the doubtless self is persistence without struggle. You don't need to force repetition or cling to techniques. Assumption is no longer a task, but your default state. Just as a fish doesn't struggle to swim, You don't struggle to assume. You simply live it. This state also makes you more generous. When doubt ruled, you were always protecting, hoarding, waiting for safety. But the doubtless self gives, shares, and expands because they know abundance flows endlessly. They're not calculating whether they can afford to give. They live from the truth that they already have. The doubtless self embodies the law of assumption faith as a lifestyle, not a technique. They move through the world with imagination as their compass, feeling as their fuel, and persistence as their rhythm. Nothing outside can shake them because the foundation is inside. And so, the final question remains. It's not whether manifestation works. It always does. The real question is, will you dare to live as the doubtless self? Because the moment you choose to embody that version, life has no choice but to mirror it back. So now the question is no longer, can I manifest? Because you've seen that manifestation never stops. The real question is, will I dare to live as the self without doubt? Every desire in your heart is already the seed of fulfillment. Doubt only recycles the old, but faith as assumption, creates the new. Take a moment tonight and ask yourself, if doubt didn't exist, what would I choose right now? Let that question guide your state, your feeling, your identity. And as you persist in this new self, you'll notice the calm, the synchronicities, the effortless flow that prove you've crossed the line from wanting to being. Remember, imagination creates reality. Feeling is the secret. You are not waiting for life to change. You are life itself, shaping reality through what you dare to assume. If this message stirred something in you, don't keep it to yourself. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and join me in this journey of living beyond doubt. Because your new life begins the moment you decide to live as if it's already here.